was using him as a conduit pipe for expression. Elijah, the pitch pipe. I was expecting that after this kind of great victory, that this man will become one of the functionaries that will lay the foundation for the new Israel. But unfortunately, when Jezebel came back from her diplomatic mission, Ahab gave her feedback how that Elijah had destroyed the prophets. And Elijah, even though he knew how to minister to people, he could prophesy, he could give word of knowledge, he could see visions, he could predict the future. There were many things he did not know. And Jezebel went and consulted with the oracle. After consulting with the oracle that Elijah had shamed so much, she sent a threat. I'm talking about a threat that is supported by demonic power. I know most of you. How can I explain this? He said what? A threat. Maybe I will use my experience to tell you about this kind of threat. Because if I just say sent a threat, you will not understand. It was in 300 level. Came back from school. When I came home, one elder in our church was so happy that I had come back. She welcomed me. She said, "You're welcome." And she did not tell me why she greeted me like that. It was the second day she called me that I should come to the house. When I came into the house, I saw somebody on chains. They changed somebody by the corner. So I walked in. She now said, "Did I see that person on chain? A lady on chain." I said, "Yeah, I saw the person." She said, "That's her granddaughter." I said, "You didn't know? Your granddaughter?" "Yes." "What happened to her?" Then they began to uncover secrets. You know, I'm from Kogi State. You know that. I know you know that. When the foundation of that land, the Igala land, was set up, there were consultations with the Oba of Benin. Details with her. But the three scepters that entrenched and empowered his throne, he created miniature scepters that likened those scepters and gave so that the foundation of that kingdom can be established. Now, you notice those days that we used to have 10 naira. You notice that head on 10 naira. That's the original head. There's a duplicate, smaller one. That's what the Atafigala wears on his chest. Oh my, you guys. Okay. You see, this is for elder. This is my top. You know the original one, they stole it. It's in Britain now, in the museum. If you go to the museum in London, you will see the original one. The one that the Oba of Benin had behind his throne. There was another item that was taken from Benin. It was a totem. The totem of a very ancestral witchcraft order. And then that totem was pegged in Ayamba. It's the oldest order of witchcraft in this area. I mean, all of this area, including Tiv. Oldest order of witchcraft. The current custodian of that totem happened to be an old woman. Now, the thing about a witchcraft order that is ancient is that a lot of discoveries, they have a lot of knowledge. Do you understand? It's just like science. If I go into the laboratory, the things I discovered, the shortcomings I had, I document them. you, the scientists of the next generation, you now come, you say, okay, this was the challenge, and maybe you might break my own challenge, and then you develop that body of knowledge. And so that's why we have chemistry textbooks, physics textbooks, we have modern textbooks now. What we call biology in the University of Benedict University. Abroad, we don't have biology anymore. It's biotechnology. How to manipulate the genome. We are studying history of biology now. It has come beyond that level. Discoveries have come. So, in the witchcraft world, the older the altar, the more experience, the more researches have been done. The reasons why previous witches died, what killed them, what struck them, and how they have knowledge. It's different from this your own witchcraft they are doing by the river here. It can be only 8 generations old. They don't have much wisdom. In fact, when they come into trouble, they need to go to an older altar to get wisdom. And it has great prize that they travel beyond borders. Great prize to fetch wisdom. But if that altar is an old one, you will need more than speaking in tongues to dominate a place where that peg has been kept. Are you with me? The woman that was in custody of the altar was 86 years old. At the time, she sent her lieutenants to go out and get in new recruits. It happens to be that this lady that was on chains was one of the recruits that was gotten from that escapade. And all the recruits came. This woman took a liking to the lady and took the lady to the altar and took her into the spirit realm, that this is the one that should succeed her. Meanwhile, she had not been trained. So they said, okay, if you have chosen her and you see that she has the capacity, let us release the first consignment of demons to entertain her, to see if she can survive and handle the weighty matters that are connected to the covenant of the altar. When those little demons were released, she became mad instantly. And those of you that know the distance between Ayangba and Lokoja, she trekked on foot from Ayangba to Lokoja. Right? You know the distance. So it was in Lokoja that they saw her naked. That they called the woman in our church, and she went with people. They chained her up, took her to men of God to help. The more they prayed, the more possessed she became. Because are you with me? See, her own demonic possession was not that they initiated her. Her own is that it's something that is tied to the territory, that is tied to her. Okay. Let's leave that. For now. God will help us. May God open your eyes. May God. The elder now said, I know you are a righteous man. God is with you. Deliver my granddaughter. That was the problem that woman put me in. No, I was not matured enough. That deliverance I went to do changed my life till today. I need to tell you a story. Because Elijah did not know. Elijah thought he had gotten all the knowledge in light until Jezebel went and consulted the altar and spoke by the name of the gods and cursed her faith and said, if by this time tomorrow your head is not like one of the heads of the prophets that you killed, let death come to me. Yes. You have not heard that kind of curse where somebody curses himself, that if you don't go, let me be cursed. Those kind of witchcraft is not the type they do by your stream. God will help us in Jesus' name. The great prophet when he heard the threat, the impact of the threat on his heart blotted out his faith instantly. That was the first time. The faith he used to call fire from heaven, the impact of that threat blotted it out. The next reaction we see the prophet in is that he ran away for his life with his servant. The great prophet that called fire, that understands how to raise altar. Now, the way the guy fled, he so fled that he took the servant back to his village, to his old mother in the village, and said, Mama, your son was small when I took him. Yes, also. He returned the servant back to his village. And after he committed the guy back to his mother, the Bible says he himself, he trekked all night and walked all day. That he was chewing bitter cola and chewing cola so that he will not sleep. He gained mileage. So that if people look for him, the place that will stop is the servant's village. And you will not imagine that he had gained that kind of mileage. Even if they say, this was where he took him. And they moved like that for 3 hours, 4 hours. They say, no. He walked all night. What was it that hit Elijah? Please think about it. What hit that prophet? A prophet that knew alignments enough to know how to invoke the fire on the altar in heaven. Now deliver the servant back to the aged mother in the village, and he himself walked a day's journey. Elijah never knew. He never knew the power of content. He thought that after defeating them in the public, that was all there was to do. He didn't know that before they became public, they were private. They were a secret court first. They used to hide under the moon and say, as they invoked spirits. They were secret. It's because they dominated that they have come into the open to capture everywhere. Those people that they call herdsmen, they were secret intercessors, demonic intercessors before. Now, they have come to colonize us. We need more than a preacher now. We need more than a man that can speak in tongues. We need people that understand the technology to move the hand of God. Such men were not anticipated in our Bible schools. The great prophet escaped. He himself went a day's journey and sat under a juniper tree and begged God to kill him. What was his testimony? He said, it is enough. I am not better than my fathers. I would like you to notice a sense of insufficiency. Are you seeing? Oh, you are not seeing. The second thing his comment revealed was that many prophets, many heavy prophets have been sent that way. His predecessors. And all of them cried that cry of insufficiency. It was as if when he was being released from the cave, there was a warning. Make sure you don't end up like this. But when he encountered the fury of what was in the city side, what did he say? I'm not better. I'm not better. You see why Elisha asked for double portion? Because there was a long line of ancestral insufficiency. If you look at your family, you will see a long line of insufficiency. Men that tried to rise and were cut off. Women that were so beautiful that could not marry. And the ones that attempted to marry, they divorced after 6 months, after 2 years. Mysterious things began to happen. The question is, will you give up and accept your fate and say, well, I will not be the first insufficient one to have risen. I am not better than my fathers. The land cries. It is dry. It is parched. In it are the chains and fetters that hold the captives of the mighty. Will you also say like your ancestors, I am not better. I am not better. I am not better than them that came before me. The question I have been asking for many years as I go about preaching, I ask, are you the one who is to come? Or should we expect another? Are you the one? Because Elijah clearly said that he was not the one. He was not the voice of redemption. But he wasn't better. He wasn't better than his fathers. And he sat under a juniper tree. Now, I would like you to see where Elijah sat. Right? This 1 Kings chapter 19 is the only scripture that gives us a little insight of the life of Elijah before he became a national prophet. A prophet that was running away from danger. What would be the best place for him to go to? Haven't kept his servant miles away. The Bible says he sat under a juniper tree. A juniper tree is like a palm tree, and there are a lot of palm trees here. If you are looking for shade, is it a palm tree you look for? So what took Elijah there was not the quest for shade. What took him there was where he encountered God first. That was his God zone. That was where he saw the light. That's where he heard the voice. He went back there if there was any voice left, to also trigger his own covenant, to see if there will be answers for him. My question for you is this: where is your own God zone? If there is no place on Obokolo campus that can vouch, that can speak and say, this place was the place where Martha found her scepter. If there is no such place, then you are like a wanderer without an inheritance in the earth. When I went to Kano, I was on the mountains. When the angel of the Lord tapped me, that was where I received my first mantle. And 2 years later, after I left Kano, I came there for a crusade. I had to go to that mountaintop. It was when I met on the same spot that God spoke to me. I will raise a cripple. The first cripple that rose in my life rose in the city of Kano. At the time I was preaching on the pulpit, police came to arrest me. They were already in the crowd waiting for me to finish preaching, and then I'll end up in the station. And as I was preaching that day, the woman that used to sell beer in the junior staff mess, she was crippled. I don't know how she shut down the mess to come to crusade, but on the crusade ground, she rose up and she began to walk. The police that came to arrest me ran away. It was my God. I went there to make contacts. Do you have a juniper tree? You are just moving. All you know is where they do evil. Nothing in your spirit. And you think if they marry you like this, you can enter a family and fight what is there. You are not preparing for this life. Your life is in a comic, cartoon. The woman called me. And I told her, Mommy, don't worry. This is what we do. This is what we do. We cast out devils. I was ministering to her. A demon now stood. I see demons. I see them. They're like, some are like monkeys. Most of them are like monkeys. And then some of them are like dogs. And the demons that are responsible for sexual immorality, they're like dogs. If you see them following people with the spirit, it means those ones are very immoral people. And they can't even marry, actually. The ones that the dogs are following. And when you find somebody that 3 dogs are following, 4 dogs, 5 dogs, then you know that that's the beginning of the end. So I see demons. But I've never seen a creature like that which I saw. His head was high into the heavens. And he had the eyes of a cat. Shining eyes. So as I was praying, and I noticed there was somebody close. Only for me to see. His head higher than this, your roof here. And he was just looking at me. I prayed in tongues, hard tongues. Prayed. He was just looking at me. Wondering what I was doing. That woman would have left me alone. Pray! He looked. And for about 35 minutes, I sustained that prayer. Then the man spoke to me. I noticed that when he spoke, he didn't open his mouth to speak. He just transmitted the truth through his thoughts into my thoughts. He said, if we ever catch you, you will not survive. Then he turned back. He said, if we ever catch you, you will not survive. He turned back and left. And the person I was praying for was delivered. They went and shared testimony. Shared that a great preacher, a great prophet has risen among us. But they never knew the threat that I received. Just like Elijah received a threat. There is no Bible school you go that can train you enough for this threat. I thought I had forgotten the threat until 9 years later. I was posted to Lagos. And, okay, I'm a civil servant, alright? And I work offshore most times when I was in Lagos. And one day I was coming from offshore into the land. And that spirit came back with me. Yes, after 9 years. Before I reached home, the spirit was there. This time, it was even more. What grew, the only thing that changed in the spirit's body was the hand. Before, the hand was normal, like the proportion of a human hand to his body, right? But the time I met the spirit, this hand was reaching the ground, it's the 2 hands. And this time, when the spirit stands close to you, your breath will begin to go. So I was working in Lagos. My wife was in Makodi. I left them there. I said, don't be implicated by my conviction. Because the most corrupt place in Nigeria is the oil industry. That's where I work. I can't go into details. Just forget about that. This spirit kept visiting me for 9 months. Now, which Bible school do you go to? They don't know things like that exist. So Elijah was not trained to handle that type. It's very easy to pastor 200 people. The kind of people you pastor. That is it. If you are anointed, you are living a holy life, you are prayerful, the scriptures will be opening, God will be using you to feed them. I'm not talking about pastoring people. I'm talking about demons that are fasting to territories. Have you heard of the prince of Persia before? They are synonymous to territories. Anytime I take a flight out of Lagos and I go outside to preach, it will leave me. But when I fly into Lagos, I will hear a perfume. There's a perfume that it comes with. I know it has come. That was when I will fall on my knees to pray. Because the only way I feel relieved is to pray long. That's why I'm asking, where's your God zone? And it came to pass after 9 months of harassment that I took an invitation to go to Enugu so that I could be relieved for 3 days of the meeting. As they ushered me into the hotel, and the pastor was so happy, he left the hotel. The demon was standing in the hotel. That was the first time it left Lagos to follow me. And I prayed about it for long. God did not answer. Then that day in my spirit, this song began to rise. This song we normally sing. I am delivered. Praise the Lord. I am delivered by His word. Once I was bound by the chains of Satan, I am delivered. I know you know this song. The song came out of my spirit, and I began to sing. And you know what God told me? He said, when I decorate an apostle for territorial mission, I give them weapons. That's what God told me. That was the day I knew that there was an aspect of ministry that was territorial. And you had to be decorated in order for you to carry out territorial missions. And as part of the decorative accessory to equip you for this mission is that God will give you what? Weapons. That was when it occurred to me 3 times. We were praying and a sword fell from heaven. The first time all of us gathered to carry it, we could not carry it, so we left it. Second time, we were praying again, a sword fell from heaven. And in my vision, I saw 3 of us, me, Charlotte, the other person is not here. We were able to carry it. 3 people. And then the third time, when the sword fell, there was no need for me to carry it. Because it was standing above my head. And I could send it. And it would go. That day, the sword came again. So I sent it. When I sent it, I pray it comes today. Maybe if it comes, we will try it so that you will know what I'm talking about. I pray. Don't worry. I'm praying. I will ask for it. If it comes, I can send it. You will see the impact. When I sent it on that spirit, it took 35 minutes. The same time I prayed in tongues that time, before it fell down. It was falling, but it took 35 minutes to fall. That was the day I was promoted in the spirit to begin territorial ministry. Now, listen. Today, if I pray here, which is in your city, will fall. No, it's not. No, you don't understand. It's an information I'm giving you. I'm just telling you an information that Elijah went to his God zone. Every city I stay, because of work, I raise an altar. I have a God zone. And I must retire to that place at a certain time. When you begin to do it regularly, it is in one of your God zones that an angel will sleep in. And then open your eyes. These are your mundane eyes that it doesn't see. They'll wash it with eye salve.